After analyzing business transactions, the next step accountants would do is to journalize these transactions. When accountants record business transactions by journalizing, there is always a debit and credit. And this is where the rule of double entry accounting comes in. The double entry rule is the foundation of today's business record keeping. The double entry states that the total debits must equal the total credits and must deal with 2 or more accounts for each transaction. Accountants follow these set of rules whenever a transaction occurs, especially when journalizing transactions. When we say journalizing transactions, what is it? Well, journalizing is the process of recording business transactions in the accounting records. And the process of recording a transaction is usually done in a general journal. The general journal is called a book of original entry because the transactions made from a source document is firstly recorded here. The simplest form of a journal usually used in a business is a 2-column general journal. A 2-column general journal looks like this. It contains the date in which the transaction occurs. The month is written in the first column of the date, together with the day on the second column. The next one is the particulars column. In this column, accounts affected by each transaction are written here. A separate row is used for each account title. For example, cash and accounts receivable must be in a separate row. After all account titles have been posted for each transaction, a brief reason or explanation for the journal entry is written on the next row. The posting reference. The posting reference, also known as folio, provides a cross-reference between the journal and the ledger accounts. And lastly is the debit and credit column. The amounts to be debited and credited are listed on these columns. By the way, this is called a 2-column journal since there is only one column for debit amounts and another column for the credit amounts. Now that you know what a 2-column journal looks like, the next thing you need to know is how to input information on this journal. First is the heading and filling up the page number on the upper right-hand column. That is given, of course. Next, on the date column, write the month of the transaction. Take note that the name of the month is not necessarily written repeatedly on the same page. However, when the month changes, the new month should be written. On the next line is the day of the transaction. On the particulars column, write the account title on the extreme left edge for account titles you need to debit. For account titles to be credited, write down the accounts on the next row just after the last account debited. Instead of writing the accounts on the extreme left edge, accounts credited must be indented at least half an inch. So why do we need to indent credited accounts? Because indenting helps you easily identify what accounts are credited. Under the debit and credit column, the amount debited is placed under the debit column, and the amount credited is placed under the credit column. When putting amounts under the debit and credit column, each digit of the peso amount written in a money column should be properly placed, observing where the centavos, ones, tens, hundreds, and other digits must be placed. For the explanation part of the journal, it is usually indented for about an inch from the edge of the particulars column and is written in the next row after all accounts have been recorded for that transaction. The explanation part is easy, especially when you really understood the transaction that occurred. In short, you'll just be stating what transaction actually happened. Journalizing is confusing, right? Don't worry, to better understand how to journalize, we'll be having examples on our next videos. Accounting Trivia. National Heroes Day? Earth Day? What about International Accounting Day? Of course, we have it. The International Accounting Day is always observed annually during the 10th of November.